School with Mama Ro. This is a video series to demonstrate basic cooking skills for the beginner to intermediate home cook. Today on this episode, we are going to be making homemade bread for things like grilled cheese and a deli sandwich. At the end of the episode, we're also going to be making a cheese quesadilla. What you'll need to make your homemade bread is flour, butter, vegetable shortening, salt, sugar, and active dry yeast. The utensils or equipment that you will need is a basting brush, a spatula, your dry measuring cups, a wet measuring cup, a paddle attachment for an electric mixer along with its mixing bowl, another separate large mixing bowl, and 2 loaf pans. We are going out of order from what the recipe calls for to only get our hands messy with vegetable shortening one time. We are going to grease our large mixing bowl and our 2 glass pans with the vegetable shortening. So take clean hands, take a good tablespoon or so, and just smear it in a good thinnish medium thick layer on the bottom and all the way up the sides. Because once your dough mixes, we're going to put the dough in here and cover it with plastic wrap to rise. Now, we're also doing our pans so that when our dough rises and we get it rolled out, we don't have to get our hands messy again. So you do the same thing on the bottom. We may need a little more shortening, which is fine. You're going to go on the bottom, in the sides, in the creases here, in the seams, all the way around the pan and all the way up the sides. A good tip to remember when working with vegetable shortening, you want to wash your hands with hot soapy water, as hot as you can stand it, to help remove the grease as easily as possible. We are finishing up our second pan, and when we're done greasing this, they will sit off to the side and wait for us until we are ready for them in our recipe. So we have warmed up our tap water and we have put it in our wet measuring cup. We are making sure that the water temperature is going to rise between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature of boiling water is 212. So anything that comes out of your tap, as long as you get it super hot, it should work. We have added our flour, sugar, salt, dry yeast, and shortening to our mixer, and we have mixed it together. And now we are going to add our 120 to 130 degree water and turn it on to a low speed and mix it together. Now you'll see that it's very watery, which is okay because we're going to add more flour to it. So I would suggest right now, it says to let it mix, scraping occasionally, scrape down the sides. I would suggest turning off your mixer and making it easy for you to access it so that you don't get your spatula. My grandmother actually broke her finger by doing this while it was running. So scrape down the sides of your bowl. It's okay that it's not running because your safety is more important than the consistency of this loaf right now. When you get experienced, you can totally try it while it's running. We have added our water to our dry ingredients. We mixed on a low speed, stopping the mixer to scrape the bowl frequently, mixing for 1 minute. We did this again for a medium speed for another minute. We are now going to be adding in the remaining flour 1 cup at a time until it mixes together. It's easy to handle. You'll know this when it pulls away from the bowl. You'll see that after the first addition of flour that it looks like it is paper when it pulls away from the spatula or the beater. Now we're going to add our second cup of flour and see how it goes. You'll hear the mixer start working a little harder, and you'll see it begin to pull away from the edge of the bowl because we added enough flour. This may need another half a cup, but we'll see how it goes. Now you can hear the mixer working extra hard, and you can see that it has pulled away from the bowls because the side of the bowl is clean. Our dough, you can tell, is mixed well because it has pulled away from the entire bowl and has attached itself to our paddle attachment, which is good. So we're gonna move over to our floured surface. We're gonna prepare it before we put our dough on it. I like to use a flour towel for easy cleanup because you can just pick this up and shake it over the trash can with all your extra flour. I also like to put my flour in a measuring cup and sprinkle it onto my surface. It's a little clumpy, but that's okay. The dough needs it because it's sticky. I also like to leave a little extra flour in my measuring cup so that if I need more flour, I'm not contaminating my bag of flour, and I can discard this if I feel like I need to. You can take the floured surface that you made, get your hands a little floury because the dough is sticky, and you're going to pull your dough out onto the surface. Sprinkle a little flour as you go. Just kind of use your fingers to pull the dough out of the bowl that's still there. It's sticky. Although it pulled away from the bowl, it's still sticky, which makes it stick to the sides of the bowl. So get as much out as you can and move your bowl off to the side. Now we are going to remove our paddle attachment the same way we removed the dough from the bowl. Just with your fingers, pull it off. This is a messy job, and you will have so much fun with it if you just learn to just love this process, because at the end, it will be amazing. Okay, our dough is still sticky. You can see it in a couple places. So we're going to take our flour and sprinkle a little more onto the dough. Now, when we knead it, you're going to pull it towards you, flatten it out, and push away from you with the heels of your hand. Now, if you feel like you need to do this 2 or 3 times in one place, that is totally fine. So you're going to pull it towards you and push away, and then you're going to turn it. Pull it towards you and push away. Now, if you feel like there's a sticky spot in your dough, just sprinkle a little more flour and knead it again. You're going to do this process for about 10 minutes until the dough is smooth. My favorite lesson when I went to culinary school was learning how to make rolls. It's very therapeutic because you just pull a piece of the dough off and you just roll it. And it is so much fun. I have been kneading for a little while now. We're almost done kneading. As I've pulled over and pushed, if I feel a sticky spot, I sprinkle more flour on it and then just fold and go. The extra flour will work itself into the dough. It's a little sticky right there, but I don't think I need any more because it's not really sticking to me. Also, the recipe calls for 6 to 7 cups of flour total. You start with 3.5 cups in your bowl, and you can add another 3.5 cups when you start mixing it all. When you add the extra flour, you can add up to 3.5 cups outside of the original 3.5. So when we're done with this, we're gonna form it into a ball, and we're gonna put it into our bowl. Now that we have formed our ball, it's going to look a little different if you use the flour towel. It's not going to be smooth on the top. It's going to have a little bit of a towel texture to it, which is okay because you can still see that it's smooth underneath that texture. So you want it smooth and springy. It should come back and not keep the indent. So we're going to put it into our greased bowl, and then we're going to flip it around to coat all sides of our dough in the grease. After we do this, we are going to cover it loosely with saran wrap or plastic wrap, whichever you have, whichever you prefer to call it as well. We're going to cover it loosely, and we're gonna let it rise to double in size or for 40 to 60 minutes. And we'll show you what that looks like when we're done. We have covered our bowl loosely with saran wrap. And now where I like to put my bowl is in the laundry room where the dryer and the hot water heater are, because it's a perfect warm environment for the dough to double in size and rise. Our dough has doubled in size, and inserting 2 fingers, that did not come back. Therefore, we know it's ready to be used. Now that our dough has risen and we're gonna take our fist and punch it down gently to deflate it. We're going to divide our dough in half. This is a little tough, but just do your best. So just kind of pull it and break it apart. As much as we can. Okay, leave 1/2 in the bowl. And then on our lightly floured surface, we're going to make our dough into a 18 by 9 like rectangle. You can use your hands to flatten it out. I just put this here to know where my 9 inches are wide, and then you can kind of like eyeball it lengthwise. So just kind of flatten it out a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. The pictures will show you that it's perfect, but those are the pictures. They make bread every day. So just kind of flatten it out. Make it long and a little wide. And then when we get done with this, we're going to roll it up. And that's the next stage I'll show you. So now that we've gotten our dough roughly to a 9 by 18, we are going to roll it starting at the 9-inch side towards us. So you're gonna roll it and just take your thumbs and pinch it down to seal it. And just continue to do that until you get to the other end. Okay, so now that we're towards the end, we're gonna keep rolling it, and you can actually flip this over like this, and we're gonna seal the seam, kind of pinching it like we did before, and we're gonna push down the edges to seal those as well. Kind of make sure that it's uniform all the way across and it doesn't have like divots in it. And then you're going to seam side down, so that's our seam there, seam side down, fold the ends under like so, and then we're going to place it in our greased pan from earlier. Now we're going to repeat this with the second half, and we're going to cover this loosely and let it rise again. So now we have both of our loaves in our greased pans, and we're going to take our butter that we melted in the microwave and brush on to our loaf, and then we're going to cover it lightly with saran wrap. So we brush both of our loaves and then cover it with saran wrap, and then we're going to let it rise back in my laundry room for another 30 to 40 minutes is what this one calls for. So we buttered this one. We take our saran wrap and we lightly cover it like so, and it's going to double in size almost again. Our bread has doubled in size, as you can see. We are going to remove the plastic wrap, and then we're going to place it in the oven at a 425 degree temperature for 25 to 30 minutes. We moved our rack down to the lowest setting so that when we place our bread into the oven, the tops of the bread are about in the middle of the oven. So we're going to place both of them on the same rack, and we're going to set a timer for about 25 to 30 minutes. So we have removed our bread from the oven, but before we did that, it wasn't completely golden brown in color at 25 minutes, so we set another timer for 3 to 5 minutes longer because we had to open the oven to release the heat. So when you close the oven, it takes about a minute for that heat to get back regulated where it needs to be at 425. So we set the timer for 3 to 5 minutes, and it came out nice and golden brown, and they sound hollow when thumped. We have removed our bread from the pan. I just dumped it out and then took my hands and flipped it right side up. We are putting them on a wire cooling rack to let the air ventilate underneath them to cool them all the way through. We are going to take our melted butter from earlier, there's a little left over, and we're gonna brush the tops of them while they're still hot to ensure some moisture getting back into the bread because it has been baked out, a little bit of it. So we're putting some more butter on it for flavor and for moisture. So after we brush the second one with butter, we are going to let them cool here until they're cool to the touch. You can serve them with butter if you like for toast, or we're going to show you how to make grilled cheese and a deli sandwich. Up next, we're making grilled cheese. With our homemade bread, we're going to slice it up with our bread knife. We're going to take 12 slices of cheese, softened butter, a spatula, and a 10-inch skillet to make our grilled cheese today. This is our homemade bread. When it is cooked on the inside, this is what it'll look like, but how you know it's done on the outside before you slice into it is the golden brown color and the hollow sound when tapped. We are slicing our sandwich bread about a 1/2 inch thick. We need 8 slices to make this recipe for grilled cheese sandwiches. So you kind of just judge it, eyeball it, a good sandwich slice with a good bread knife, and just cut it right down. You're assembling our grilled cheese. This recipe calls for 3 slices of cheese per sandwich. So just kind of mount them together. Put your 2 pieces of bread together. And then we're going to take our softened butter and spread over each slice, front and back, and then we're going to put it in our pan and grill it up. So we're going to do this to both sides. You want a good amount of butter because that's what ensures you're browning on the bread, on the sandwich. So flip it over and do it to the other side. We have heated our pan on a medium heat burner, and we're going to take our double buttered sandwich and put it in our pan. We're going to allow it to sit in the pan like this for 5 minutes until it browns on the bottom, and then we'll flip it and brown it on the other side for 2 to 3 minutes. About 5 minutes, and now we have flipped our grilled cheese. You can see here that it's golden brown and the cheese is slightly melting on the sides there. So we're going to wait about another 2 to 3 minutes and then it's good to go. Our finished grilled cheese with our ooey gooey melted cheese in the center. Up next, we're going to make a delectable deli sandwich. The ingredients and utensils you need for your deli sandwich are turkey and cheese, mayonnaise and mustard, tomato, lettuce, onion, our homemade bread, and a trusty butter knife. We're going to start with our lettuce, and it's fairly easy. You just find the outside leaf and pull it off. If you like to, do it again. Then we're going to make sure you see how it's white down here, a little more like lighter green, and this is the darker green. This is the part that has all the flavor in it. So you can either cut or just tear it apart, and there it is. Set it aside. For our onion, if you need a video on how to cut your onion to get to this point, reference our salad video from a few weeks ago. So basically you're going to take your knife, take your knuckles, and just slice. Now since we're doing half moons, you can do 2 to make sure you have enough onion on your whole entire sandwich to make a whole onion, a whole round. Okay, we're going to set that aside as well. Now we used Roma tomatoes in our salad video, but this is basically the same. So we're going to cut the top off like so. So our core isn't really there. You don't have to worry about cutting that out. Save this part for later for a salad. And then we're just going to do 2 1/4-inch tomato slices, using your knuckles as a reference like we did on the onion. And there's our beautiful tomatoes. Set this aside as well. we're going to mayonnaise and mustard our bread. Now, I love mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is my favorite condiment of all times. As you can tell, I buy a lot of it. So we're gonna put some mayonnaise on both sides of our bread. If you like mayonnaise on one side of your bread, that's fine. Go right ahead and put it on one side of your sandwich. Also, if you like butter or like a garlic spread or a pesto, whatever your fancy is, put it on the bread. So we're just gonna put an even layer on the bread. And then we are going to take our mustard and squeeze a pretty little design on it. If I can get it to come out. Now, if you like a lot of mustard, put a lot of mustard. If you like spicy mustard, put spicy mustard. So then we're gonna take our cheese. We're gonna place it down. You can put it on mustard side or non-mustard side, whichever you prefer. And then we're gonna take our 4 slices of turkey, which is about 2 ounces, and we're gonna alternate which side the fold is on so that it stacks evenly on our sandwich. Now, we're going to take our lettuce, tomato, and onion. I'm just gonna flip this straight down. Well, actually, I'm gonna leave it straight up like that. And if it's not laying flat, take your lettuce and break the rib of your lettuce leaf. And then put your top on. Here is our wonderful deli sandwich. You can see the layers of cheese, meat, lettuce, onion, or lettuce, tomato, onion, and bread. You can cut it on the diagonal as I did here. You can cut it in half, you can cut it in quarters, or you can leave it whole. Eat it however you prefer and top it with whatever you want. Up next, we're making quesadillas. To make your quesadillas today, the ingredients you're gonna need are shredded cheese, your favorite kind. I like the 8-inch flour tortilla, whatever size you like, but that's what I prefer. Some butter for your pan. You need a spatula and your handy dandy 10-inch non-stick skillet. So we are adding our butter to the pan and we're going to let it melt. And then we're going to take our quesadilla, our tortilla, I'm sorry, and put it in the pan and kind of move it around to spread the butter evenly underneath the tortilla. We're gonna let it sit here for about 5 minutes or so to brown on the bottom. Now that we've let our tortilla heat through and it's brown on the bottom, you can see it a little brown there, it looks tasty. We are going to take our cheese, about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup, depending on how much you like. Put it on one side of the tortilla, and my cheese hit the pan because you can hear it sizzle. And then you're going to take your pan and kind of maneuver it where it works best for you. Slide your spatula underneath the tortilla and fold in half. Look at that brown goodness. Press down to melt the cheese, and we'll leave it there just for another minute so the cheese melts all the way through because we just put it on. And once it melts all the way through, then we'll take it off and it's good to be cut and eaten. Here's our finished quesadilla with ooey gooey cheese and browned tortillas. Thank you for joining us today on Cooking School with Mama Rowe, hosted by yours truly, Ashley Rowe. We have taught you how to make a yum-amazing loaf of bread, 2 of them in fact, a gooey grilled cheese, a delectable deli sandwich, and a wonderful quesadilla. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Full sausage. Every morning just a thing. Good morning that became poor provincial town. Good morning, Belle. Good morning, Monsieur. That was totally opposite of what it should have been voice-wise.
And there's Mama Rowe with Brady.
Double tapkin.